My parents made my sister their golden child and treated me like the family's unwanted one. It ruined my life. Oh, man, you just cannot imagine the soul-crushing feeling of realizing your own parents don't just neglect you, but actively erase you from your own life, year after agonizing year. My 18th birthday wasn't just a party. It was the explosive culmination of 8 years of being the other kid. And let me tell you, when I finally snapped, it changed absolutely everything. So, here's the thing. My parents spent nearly 2 decades turning my younger sister into this absolute golden child, while I was just the unwanted child. I'm 18 now, finally on my own, and looking back, I honestly think they were genuinely sick in the head not to see what they were doing to me. But sometimes, karma hits hard, and it came back to bite them in the biggest, most public way imaginable. My sister came into the world about 10 years after me. She was an unplanned pregnancy, and it was incredibly rough. My mom nearly didn't make it, and after that, she couldn't have any more kids. It was a terrifying experience, and my parents latched onto my little sister with this fierce, almost desperate grip. From that moment on, I wasn't just my parents' son, I was the other kid in the house. The only time they really seemed to see me was when they needed a free babysitter. The favoritism, it was just insane. It started subtly, but quickly escalated into this bizarre, agonizing tradition. I remember my 11th birthday, vividly. My parents wanted me to let my 2-year-old sister blow out my candles. Why? Because she cried at the sight of a cake that wasn't hers. I didn't want to, but they forced me. They relit them for me afterward, but the magic, the joy, it was completely gone. Ruined. And it wasn't a one-off. It happened the next year, and the year after that. It just kept happening until it became the norm. My sister had to have presents on my birthdays. I never got any on hers. When I asked why, they just brushed me off, saying, "You're a boy, you don't need to worry about it as much." Can you believe that? Even as a kid, I knew that was such a stupid thing to say. And my birthday parties? They were never about me. They always picked places she would enjoy more. Honestly, it felt like my sister got 2 birthdays a year, and I got absolutely none. Beyond the birthdays, their entire lives revolved around her. If I wanted to do something, my sister had to want to do it too, or it was immediately vetoed. The only way I could pursue my own interests was if I could do it completely alone. So, I learned to just lock myself in my room, buried in video games. That was my sanctuary. Unless, of course, my sister decided to burst in and annoy me. That's why I put a lock on my door. My parents initially flipped out, demanding I remove it. But I was an angry teenager, tired of having my privacy constantly invaded. I finally just exploded, pointing out how ridiculous it was that they were upset about me being naked in my own room when my sister would just waltz in. They backed down. The lock stayed. My sister, bless her heart, developed the most extreme princess complex you could imagine. She was demanding, bossy, and honestly, a nightmare. I stayed away from her as much as humanly possible, making up any excuse I could to just have some peace. My parents even hired a teenage babysitter for her, which was a godsend for my personal time. But that didn't last. The babysitter quit because my sister wouldn't listen, and my parents tried to stiff her on pay, saying she did a bad job. The girl got some other people involved, and my parents finally paid up. They hired another girl, who stayed, but they still made it clear that I was expected to watch my sister any day I had free. I started going out of my way to make myself busy, taking on extra shifts at my part-time job. My sister treated me like her personal butler, ordering me around. She even had this stupid, infuriating nickname for me that would make my blood boil just hearing it. If I didn't give her exactly what she wanted, she'd cry, run to our parents, and then I'd be in trouble for mistreating her. We had countless, massive arguments because of this. Eventually, I just refused to yield anymore, and my relationship with my parents devolved into barely any words spoken between us. Then came my high school graduation. And get this, my parents had the absolute nerve to brag to other parents that they were the reason I worked so hard. I mean, they weren't wrong, but the reason they were thinking of was definitely not the one that actually happened. I worked hard just biding my time, counting down the days until I'd be free. They never even asked me about school unless parent-teacher conferences rolled around. I graduated with a B/C average, and my graduation trip? It was, predictably, to some place my sister would enjoy more than me. But my 18th birthday, that's when things truly hit the fan. It was July, my 18th, the biggest birthday of my life, and yet it still didn't feel like it was about me at all. I desperately hoped, just for once, we'd go to my favorite restaurant. But no, the party was at the local knockoff Chuck E. Cheese, the only place like it nearby, so it was the default celebration spot for everything, including my high school graduation. I was surrounded by kids half my age, utterly bored, eating mediocre pizza, playing dated arcade games for tickets to cheaply made prizes that brought zero joy. Then, it was cake time. My parents came out with a pink cake, adorned with white flowers. Sure, it had my name on it, but it was so obviously not a boy's cake. And there were only 10 candles. They lit them, and then, without a moment's hesitation, they set it right in front of my sister to blow out. That was it. That was the moment. It was like a mental flash, an instant replay of every single slight, every ignored birthday, every piece of favoritism from the last 8 years. All the pent-up hate, the anger, the hurt, just slammed into me. And then I just started to ugly cry. Me, an 18-year-old boy, completely dissolving in tears in front of my entire family. Time just froze. Everyone was shocked. I stumbled to my feet, and all the stuff I'd been holding in for nearly a decade just spilled out, a torrent of word vomit. The entire family bore witness. When I finally ran out of breath, I just walked outside and sat by the family car, sobbing. A few relatives trailed out after me, offering hushed apologies. We didn't know about the pink cake, they mumbled. Your parents kept it covered. I just shook my head. It doesn't matter that you didn't know. I choked out. You all just sat back and watched as my life was taken over by Little Miss Sunshine for the past 8 years. I haven't had any real birthdays, any real celebrations of my own. They were all about her. And then, on the biggest birthday of my life, you all expected me to just smile and nod like always while they handed my sister a cake that was entirely meant for her when it wasn't even her birthday. Some started offering flimsy excuses, saying they thought I was okay with it because my parents said I was. I was never okay with it. I screamed, tears streaming down my face. My parents forced it on me every single year until I just pretended to accept it. I threw my arms out, gesturing wildly at the dismal Chuck E. Cheese. Look where we are. Does this look like the place I wanted to celebrate my graduation and 18th birthday? No one even tried to stick up for me all this time. I'm just the other kid, while my sister gets everything. I didn't even get to have any of my friends here because my parents stopped letting me invite them ages ago after they tried to voice their opinions over my sister blowing out my candles. There are 365 days a year, and was it so bad to want one that was about me and not her? Instead, I'm treated like the greedy, entitled brat for wanting my own damn birthday. And then I just collapsed back into ugly crying. By this point, my father came storming out. He started yelling at me for making such a huge scene, saying my mother was crying, my sister was upset because I ruined her moment, and now everyone inside thought they were bad parents. I looked him dead in the eye, my voice cracking but firm. You are bad parents. I yelled back. And you should know exactly why. The moment those words left my mouth, the rest of the family descended on him like a pack of wolves. Better late than never, I guess. I'd never seen anything like it. My father was practically backed up to the restaurant's front door as the crowd flooded back inside with him, ready to have it out with my mother too. My grandparents stayed with me, apologizing profusely for having their eyes shut so tight for so long. I don't know what was said inside that restaurant, but it was a solid half hour before my parents re-emerged, looking utterly defeated. My mother was still sniffling, her eyes red and puffy. Neither of them could meet my gaze. They awkwardly apologized for what they did, and then, almost as an afterthought, offered to redo the party elsewhere. But that wasn't nearly enough for the family. One of my uncles cleared his throat loudly. My parents, chastened, quickly added that they'd never make me let my sister blow out my candles again, or give her presents on my birthday, or make any part of it about her. Another ahem. They also apologized for the pink cake, lamely claiming they just thought I wasn't worried about cake anymore at my age. Oh boy, that was absolutely the wrong thing to say. I became furious all over again. My age is irrelevant. I warned. You literally gave my birthday to my sister, and you have no good reason as to why, and you know it. There's no point in redoing this party because it's too damn late. You clearly showed that I mean nothing to you. You ruined 8 years of my life until I became an adult. What future birthdays with you could I possibly look forward to? My father started to get angry at me again, but the entire family yelled at him to shut up. My grandfather, his voice resonating with authority, told him I was exactly right. There was no possible way to undo the damage. He said my parents were awful people, played favorites, and treated me like a black sheep ever since my sister was born. And what's more, he said, they were all awful for letting it happen. He finished by saying I was owed far more than an apology. I was owed my life back. My mother broke down again, trying to come closer, crying my name, apologizing. But I refused to let her near me. Half the family physically body-blocked her from getting close. I can't take this anymore, I mumbled, and started to walk away. One of my aunts chased me down, gently bringing me back. I could hear multiple family members yelling and cussing at my parents, but I was too upset to even feel any satisfaction. And where was my sister during all this? Still inside, completely oblivious, eating cake and ripping open my presents. Yes, my parents had actually served her some cake after I cried and walked out. You'd think that wouldn't be their primary focus at that moment, but they were called out on it later. My grandparents finally managed to calm me down. We sat in their old minivan while everyone else cleared out of the party. My sister, meanwhile, threw a massive tantrum after being caught opening my gifts. One of them was a brand new smartphone, which she promptly threw against the wall and smashed because she wasn't allowed to keep it. She'd literally just gotten a new phone on her birthday a few months earlier. I was so upset, I just ranted to my grandparents that I never wanted to celebrate my birthday again. They let me stay the night at their house. When I eventually went home, I still didn't speak to my parents. My mother just kept crying because I wouldn't talk to her, and my father was as closed-mouthed as me. The following weekend, my grandparents convinced me to go out to dinner with them. When we arrived, I was completely surprised. A whole new party was waiting for me. My parents were there, maintaining these forced, don't hate us smiles. There was a huge chocolate cake with 18 candles, and even a banner with my name. They called it my happy belated birthday graduation party, because, as they admitted, I hadn't really gotten either that year. I had to pretend to be happy, of course. But let's be real, one good party doesn't undo 8 years of favoritism, or even make a dent in it. And my sister? She was sitting at the table, arms folded, lip curled, just seething because it wasn't all about her anymore. Instead of happy birthday, everyone sang this altered version, happy day. As soon as I blew out the candles, my sister screamed. I mean, an ear-bleedingly loud, little girl scream. My parents had to rush her out, and then bring her back in later, looking even more upset than before. She quietly pouted in her seat for the rest of the party. I did get a new smartphone, by the way. My sister had hers taken away, among other things, for what she did at the previous party. But the phone wasn't all. The whole family had chipped in and got me a car. It was just an old white Volvo, but I loved it the moment I laid eyes on it. My grandfather, who knows a lot about cars, had fixed it up himself. I was so happy, but my sister clearly was not. She let out another one of those screams, started a massive tantrum, demanding a car too. My mother had to take her into the bathroom, and they didn't come back for a while. My father just went back to looking defeated. My sister had effectively ruined their attempt at trying to look good in front of the whole family. Multiple family members also had some very strong words for my parents, telling them my sister was acting that way because they raised her to be a princess, a spoiled brat. I obviously started driving that car around right away. But only days later, my sister actually vandalized it. She took a hammer and broke 2 of the side windows, cracking the windshield so badly the car was undrivable. My parents managed to stop her before she did any more damage, but she screamed bloody murder when they grabbed her and the hammer, then tried to bite them. Everyone was furious, especially my grandparents, because my grandfather had put so much work into that car. My sister had been so badly spoiled that she couldn't mentally comprehend that I could have something she couldn't. Several other family members laid into my parents again about how they were setting my sister up for failure by making her an entitled brat who expects the world to be handed to her, and that she was going to have a terrible adult life because they wouldn't put their feet down and teach her some respect. Well, her actions didn't go unpunished. My sister was grounded for the rest of the summer, and effective the new school year, she was sent to boarding school. My mother cried like a baby about it, but my father had to be completely adamant that it was the only way to start undoing the damage they'd done. Yes, they finally fully acknowledged they were at fault. It was kind of hard for them not to, since absolutely no one sided with them anymore. My sister is absolutely miserable at that school. She hates the clothes, she hates the rules, and she's been lying almost constantly, but with cameras everywhere, she's not getting away with any of it. Our parents tried to visit her a few times, but she just screamed at them for putting her in that place. From what I hear, this may very well be her school life until she's 18. My parents did pay to fix my car, of course. An auto glass company replaced the windows and windshield, and it looks just as it did before. In August, my grandfather came to me. He'd found me a job working for a friend, but it was 40 miles away. That meant I'd need to move out of my parents' house unless I wanted that commute. I was all for moving. Finding a first apartment wasn't easy, though. I had to get approved for a credit card just to get accepted for a studio, but I got it. I've been living there since September. My parents keep trying to contact me, but I rarely speak to them. Anytime we do, I just feel awkward and uncomfortable. My grandfather suggested they simply don't want to confront how badly they failed as parents, and trying to get me to forgive them would make them feel better about themselves. But I'm not going to forgive, not anytime soon. I'm finally happy and away from them now. And they've got nothing. They don't have me, and they don't have my sister. My parents had to take on more hours at work because boarding school for my sister isn't cheap, nor was the party they had to throw for me, or the repairs to my car. An empty house, angry relatives, and the only thing they have left is their work. It feels like incredible misery to me, and I don't take delight in it, but it is, after all, the result of their own actions. It's been about a year now since all that went down. I didn't log back in for a long time, thinking I was done, but I decided to pop back in and saw so many messages asking for updates. So here it is. What I'm about to tell you is mostly pieced together from what my parents and grandparents told me. So if it sounds crazy, just remember I'm retelling it. Yes, I am doing fine, but the same cannot be said for my parents and little sister. After my initial meltdown, my sister attempted several things to get out of boarding school. When her lies and schemes didn't work, she tried doing nothing. That didn't work either. Then she tried a hunger strike, swearing she wouldn't eat anything unless our parents took her home. My mother nearly jumped in the car to rescue her baby, but my father stood in her way, reminding her that my sister's behavior was their fault. My sister's hunger strike didn't even last 2 days before she was demanding food in the cafeteria, and she wasn't allowed sweets or snacks unless they were healthy. A pediatrician had warned my parents that little Miss Sunshine was at risk of future diabetes and even stunted growth if she didn't get her weight under control and eat proper nutrients. No more gummy bears on mashed potatoes for her, thank God. Of course, my sister tried to become a bully to the other girls, but they didn't take her crap. One day, she picked a fight and got beaten up pretty badly when multiple girls set upon her, kicking her until a teacher broke it up. She didn't have serious injuries, just scrapes and bruises. Naturally, she blamed everyone else but herself. I heard she actually stated that the other girls should just do as she says. They did not, so she was shunned by them. She threw quite the tantrum over it. She'd gotten her way with everyone for so long. It was mentally inconceivable for her not to get what she wanted. My mother, poor thing, repeatedly snuck junk food to my sister at the boarding school. My sister got caught with it. My parents had a huge fight, but my mother finally stopped once the jig was up. My sister is, and still desires to be, a junk food addict. She's barely changed in the past year, not really. She's only slightly better in that she's somewhat more accepting she's not the center of the universe. Her schemes to get out of boarding school only escalated. After just a few months, she resorted to self-harm. She somehow got her hands on a knife in the cafeteria and stood on a table, threatening herself with it unless they gave her candy and sent her home. Yes, she didn't just demand to go home. She wanted candy too. I told you, she once put gummy bears on mashed potatoes. Her favorite thing was putting gummy bears on food she didn't like, because that's the only way our parents could get her to eat it. Can you imagine gummy bears on salad? It kind of defeats the point, but she regularly brought a bag of them to the table when we ate. I can't even look at gummy bears anymore without remembering. Well, they brought her what sweets they could scrape up while trying to talk her down. But at some point, she slipped and fell off the table. The resulting fall broke her left arm, her clavicle, and she got a forehead concussion. At this point, even the boarding school had enough of her. They didn't want her back. In fact, her attempt at self-harm only landed her in a worse place, a mental ward for children. She's been forced into therapy and diagnosed with a heavy case of narcissism, something she was raised into having. She cannot leave the ward unless my parents take her out. They've also forced her to continue her schooling from there and keep to a very strict, healthy diet. It could literally be described as her personal hell. My mother, of course, wanted to go to the ward and get her precious baby out. But she and my father got into a huge fight about it. And in that fight, she hit him with the nearest thing she could grab, which happened to be a bottle on the kitchen counter. The bottle broke on his face, cracked his cheekbone, and cut him up pretty badly. The police were called, and he had to be taken to the hospital while my mother was carted away in the back of a police car. My mother ended up getting psych-evaluated and committed for several months herself. She was forced to confront her own fierce desires to enable my sister. Turns out, it stems from serious mental traumas my mother had from her own childhood, but no one else knows or will tell me anything more than that. There was, and still is, talk of future divorce, but neither of them has gone any farther than sleeping in separate bedrooms so far. As for me, my 19th birthday wasn't that long ago. My grandparents threw me a party at a restaurant they know I like. My parents attended, and so did my sister. She was briefly allowed time out of the ward, and I could see the pure bitterness in her eyes. She sat there, looking just like before, lip curled and glaring at me like she wanted me to be on fire. She'd lost a fair bit of weight by then since she hadn't been allowed junk food for so long, and her diet plan is going to continue for some time. In fact, the junk food from my birthday party was the first she'd had in a long time. But she still couldn't stand not being the center of attention. This time, when I blew out my candles, she didn't scream. Instead, she began ugly crying. I can tell you right now, this was just more of her manipulation. She was just crying and saying, "Why?" over and over again. I know she's only 9, but remember last year she was 8 and demanding a car of her own just because I was gifted one at 18. She can't even get a learner's permit until she's 15. At my 19th birthday, my sister got on the floor to tantrum that there was no pizza, no gifts for her, no prizes, no nothing. Then she started cursing at our parents before trying to storm out of the restaurant. She was basically trying to copy what I did last year, in her own twisted way. You might think I'm overthinking it, but I know my sister, and if she thinks doing something will get her way, she'll do it. My parents just apologized to everyone, and then took my sister home early. But not before my grandfather went over to speak to them. I got some details from my grandmother later. He told them that they better not take my sister to party elsewhere, or give her what she wants because this will never end if they don't stop for good. After that, my sister was taken out kicking and screaming because she'd heard everything and realized her tantrums didn't work. She was driven back to the ward the next morning, and that's where she is now. I have no idea how much longer she'll be there. She's just a kid, but the most stubborn one I've ever seen. She'll likely not change until she reaches her lowest point, and until then, she's going to be stuck in a place that does no enabling of her demands. No one, not even my parents, has attempted to put any blame on me for my sister's actions this past year. They've had to accept that I had zero fault in this, and they raised my sister to be a narcissist. Enabling a narcissist is also a form of addiction, from what I've seen and heard. My sister hasn't been diagnosed with any mental illnesses aside from narcissism, actually. In fact, she's smarter than me. I heard she was tested with an IQ of around 110. She just doesn't like to apply herself unless there's some kind of reward in it for her. She was raised this way, and I'm guessing it'll take years to make her better. As for me, well, I'm doing well on my own. I admit, I had to learn to properly budget and take care of all my own necessities. It's not easy to adult, but it's still 1,000 times better than the life I was living with my parents and sister. One thing I recently found out, after I shared my story online, is that you can't officially be diagnosed as a narcissist until you're 18. I'm pretty ignorant about this stuff, so I called my father about it. He admitted my sister was showing signs of possible future NPD and some other things, but an official diagnosis can't be made yet. There's also a strong possibility of a mental disorder my mother has, but they won't tell me what it is. My parents finally admitted my mother was diagnosed with both that disorder and PTSD months ago. The PTSD triggered from some childhood traumas she won't disclose. Whatever it is, it's pretty bad. When I asked my father why I was told such simplified details and white lies, he got angry. He told me it's because my sister is their problem, not mine, and he just thought I'd let it go if he told me that. Then he said they need to be the ones to worry about my sister. I just need to focus on my future and forget about having to deal with Little Miss Sunshine ever again. It's sadly one of the most logical things he's ever said to me. There's no clear time frame on how long my sister will be in that ward. But I did ask my father if she'd ever spoken of wanting to kill me while there. He said it was kind of a middle ground. My sister did blame me, but she blames our parents more. Her main beef with me was her belief that what was hers, and what was mine should also be hers. She's even jealous I have my own apartment now, which led to other rage tantrums and demands, wanting the same things I have. Therapy has subsided her rage bit by bit over time, which is why she was even allowed to be at my 19th birthday. But her behavior that day escalated all over again. Ever see a toddler say mine to anything it sees? Well, my sister has a mine complex with my birthday, and that's 100% on my parents. My sister did, and still does, believe she is entitled to my birthday because it's been that way as long as she could remember. That's why she screamed last year. That's why she freaked out this year. In her mind, my birthday has always been hers. My parents have asked me to please leave the situation alone, and that my sister is going to need a lot of time to be treated, and there's no guarantee she'll ever get better. My mother's in therapy herself, and her own disorder is medicated now. She's often lethargic from the medication. She somehow didn't lose her job when she was temporarily put in a ward herself after hitting my father with a bottle. Her boss is a very sympathetic person and allowed my mother to work from home after getting back, although it resulted in lower pay and some kind of demotion. I should also clarify one small detail. My birthday this year wasn't on the actual date of my birth. Instead, we celebrated on the day of the belated party that was held for me last year, which is fine with me, because the actual day of my birth has been forever soured. I was born at the end of July. The belated birthday was held a week later in August, and that's the day I wish to celebrate from now on. People keep asking how I'm doing. I was doing fine, pretty decent, actually. It's been hard learning to adult, paying bills, managing my finances, all that. But I was fine. Then, somehow, coming back here to talk about this again has made me stressed, and what's the term, mentally relapsing? I guess I'm not sure. I thought I was all good, but now I'm edgy and cynical all the time. My boss even sent me home early for the day because of it. They're aware of my past, but I still feel terrible. Just having coffee this morning set my heart pounding. I think I'm going to have to search for local support groups for free counseling or something. I'm on a budget, after all. But for the moment, I'm just trying to relax and take my mind off life. I might end up stressed like this all over again if I return here someday, so I may not. I've stumbled across other stories online, stories of parents just as bad as mine. Parents who only seem to change through humiliation, but deep down, they're still the same. I'm going low contact with my parents now, and I'm about to go visit my grandparents to have a serious talk about the matter. I'm not sure I'll ever post here again, or even reply to comments. In fact, I dread looking at my inbox. I need a break from all of this. I need to get myself together and put my past behind me. And maybe, just maybe, then I can truly heal.